Every day, thousands of people hit the road heading towards their dreams. But sometimes those dreams collide with a harsh reality. Auto accidents with 18-wheelers can change lives in an instant. That's why you need the experience and expertise of St. Martin & Bork. With over 50 years of experience, St. Martin & Bork have fought for justice for the victims of truck accidents.
If you've been in a wreck with an 18-wheeler, know your rights.
Call St. Martin & Bork today to schedule your free consultation. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Folse, and joined by my good buddy Harry McCulla. And today we're going to talk about the passing of Ed Daniels, who was certainly, in a journalistic realm, one of the best sports journalists to ever come through this area. And Harry, not only at HTV, but Harry did his stint in New Orleans, and I think what, around 8 years you spent with Ed?
Yeah, about 8 years, like 96 to like 03 and around that range, you know. So, yeah, we spent a lot of time together, and well, you know how TV is. You know, we probably spent more. We spoke every day by phone. Mm-hmm. We probably spent more time together than we did our families, and yeah, we were real close. And he was a good dude. I hate to see him go. Man.
You know, he was one of those first guys, Harry, that when you in Houma in the New Orleans station, who dominated, like you know, the Bill Elders, the Golden Robinets, the Angela Hill. But Ed Daniels would always find time to come to the little guys at the time.
Right.
And say, hello, Martin, how's it going? Or hello, Hillary, or hello, whoever was on the thing.
Right.
Always found time. Some of them other guys would huddle up a little bit, wouldn't do much. He always found time for the common person.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And he knew the region. And that was his passion, right? And look, he covered the Saints, he covered LSU, he covered the Pelicans. But he loved high school football, and he loved high school sports in general. But we like to catch him like there should never be a player come through Southeast Louisiana that goes on to be something that we didn't do a story on when he was in high school. And that was a big emphasis of what we did. But Ed really meant it. I used to always joke to him because at the time, you know, I was from the Bayou. And at the time I lived on the North Shore, and I'm like, dude, all you care about is the Catholic League. You care about Jesuit and Rommel, and that's all you care about. I said, we're the black hole. We actually see the light coming in from TV stations. All we do is follow you guys, but nothing ever comes out. You know, we used to say, you know, going down to the black hole this week. So, it was more of a joke, but he took it seriously, actually. Is like, yeah, I know all these people are watching, and they have athletes too. And he really did try to. He came to Houma all the time. He would call me every time he came to Houma. Hey, McCulla. He'd call me McCulla. That was an inside joke too. He said, what's going on down the Bayou? You know, let me know what's happening. So he always wanted to do that on the North Shore and on the Bayou more than just covering.
And that was
the
a big
League.
Because we did the game of the week at HTV. It was the HTV radio phone game of the week.
Right.
Where we specialized in one game.
Right.
But he was carving out parts of all the games.
Yep.
And we have some footage, actually, where me and you were at Vanderbilt Catholic one year, and Ed and all of them were throwing it to us on the field. And there's a young Harry McCulla, and you're about to see a young Martin Folse, but there's Ed throwing it to you. Yeah. You were doing a story at Vanderbilt.
Martin, I hate to say this. This was 1998. This was our 20th homecoming game, right? So that was the 20th year of our homecoming. That's 98. So now that's like 38 years ago. So
we could still play.
But yeah, you and I, we actually, you were my guest, and we talked about it. So yeah, I was trying to do my part to get the Bayou a little light down here. But yeah, Ed always took that seriously, and high school sports was a big deal, and which it was to us too, right? So that's how we came up. We could name all the dudes that were from New Orleans. Right. We knew 4K, we knew Tommy Wilcox, we knew all those guys. They didn't know me or you. They probably didn't know Bobby Hebert, but we knew all those guys from New Orleans because it was so important to us.
Yeah, they were. But Ed Daniels had a way of, he had a seriousness about him that when he sat down to cover something, whether it was the Manning camp or whatever, he was meticulous.
Yeah. And that's what I want to say. Look, it's not about us. It's about Ed. Ed was a journalist with a capital J. I mean, that dude was a journalist. He loved inside scoop. He loved calling agents. He loved calling general managers. He was inside sources, all of that stuff. And I was almost total opposite. I really liked, let me go live and let me do highlights, right? But he loved that part of the game, and he really was, and he always a straight shooter. He wasn't, no agenda, you know, but he wasn't going to kiss booty either, right? You know, he would call the Saints out. He would call LSU out when he had to, and a lot of people thought he was negative, but he just wasn't a sunshine pumper, you know, as they say.
I remember when you were in New Orleans and I'd go cover the Saints and we would get together and chit chat after when Jim Moore would have his press conference. Swoboda would send Moore in orbit, but Ed Daniels always had a tough question, but he presented his question a little more nicer and to the point than Swoboda would.
Right. Well, Swoboda would, and I love Ron too, but he would make a statement and then expect an answer from it, right? Boy, look, Jim Everett really sucked tonight, right? You know, and then expected, you know, an answer from Jim Moore. So Ed would never do that. And like Ed would loved high school football. So Fridays was big. We'd do a show until midnight. Then on Saturday, he'd go to the LSU games. He'd cover LSU. Then you come home. That doubleheader between a night game at Tiger Stadium and then a day game at the Dome was a quick turnaround, and he'd be there too. And we'd be, you know, getting ready for another show or something. That guy worked a lot, man. And but I mean, integrity. Journalist, like I say, with a capital J, and just a really good guy. His only fault might have been he cared too much. Because, you know, 67, man, when I think of that, Martin, we're looking at it now. It's like, man, take care of yourself, enjoy it a little more. Later on in his life, he started traveling with his wife. He would schedule time off. Like he scheduled his vacation. They went to Europe. They had a little vacation house in Florida. He was doing actually a pre-training camp vacation with his wife when she found him in the hotel room in California. So I think towards the end of his life, he did finally realize, I got to smell the roses a little bit. I got to take some time. So I'm comforted in the fact that I think he was a little happier with himself towards the end of his life.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. We'll take a break. More with Harry McCulla on Ed Daniels. Don't go away. Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. All right, welcome back. Martin Folse along with Harry McCulla, remembering Ed Daniels, who passed away peacefully in front of his family at the age of 67. There you see it right there on August 16th. And he was certainly, Harry, I guess we'd have to call him a workaholic. He loved to work.
It's hard to see that photo, you know, with the two dates, you know, that's hard to see, especially guys our age. We hadn't had too many of these, and to see a heart attack too, you know, I mean, maybe because we have CIS in our backyard. We don't. When we grew up, everybody's dad seemed to die of a heart attack in their 60s. You just don't see that anymore. And I think it was. Let me give you a little story. Back in the 80s, local news had 3 or 4 channels, and TV was like the best investment in the country. People, furniture stations, politicians, car dealerships would throw money at those usually three channels, and all they had to take was avails, and it was a great business. But then all of these big companies, Merrill Lynch and Tribune and New York Times, all started buying chains of these things, and then cable came, then internet came. And they couldn't pay the debt service on these things anymore for what they bought them for. So during the 90s, it went the other way. And they slashed staff. They slashed budgets. It was hard. And so we had a lot of times just skeleton crews. And a lot of times you would work all day long to put together a story, a good story. And you get an inexperienced guy on the board, push the wrong button, and you know how long live TV is. And then it's gone. And you just miss the whole thing. And Ed could not, I mean, it happens. It's live TV and it happens.
Don't we know?
We all know it, right? but he could not get over it. And it would drive him absolutely crazy. So the guy worked hard, man. And I mean, like I say, if he wasn't on the phone, he was putting together a package. He was editing something. He did know-it-alls is what we're looking at right now. That was Brandon Turtikoff, who used to run NBC, was actually in New Orleans and started know-it-alls with Ed. And he did that. He did radio on the weekends. He would do, our extra Friday night sports stuff. So there was a lot of different things going on, and he worked so hard at it. And if it didn't go right, it was explosive sometimes. And you could say, dude, come on, man, for your own sake, you got to calm down a little bit. But you could see it really got
it was
to him.
passionate.
It is, right. And that's a fine line now.
That's why most people get in this business. They're passionate about what they do, and you just want it done right.
And we've seen that before, right? And look, this industry is full of people that are really passionate about what they do, and a lot of times you get explosive, and then after everybody calms down, it's like, dude, I'm sorry. I was never like that. I was like, dude, don't talk to me like that ever. but the industry's kind of filled with those people too, right? Directors, producers, news directors, those kind of things. It's just that kind of world, and you're covering things live, and you got to get it on there.
Because
it's high pressure.
It's a deadline.
Right. It's a deadline.
You see the
pressure.
clock ticking, and when you get deadlines, your heart rate starts amping up. When your heart rate amps up, come on, you got it. It's
absolutely
expedient.
Absolutely. So no, I understand, and we lived in that world for a long time. Ed just took it so. And look, I think that's what makes the special people of us. When you talk about, Tom Brady or Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods, their personalities sometimes are a little different, right? It's Nick Saban, right? Those types of players, they are coaches that excel on a really high level. A lot of times, that's what it takes.
But when you would see Ed at the Manning camp or the football games or the LSU championships or Friday night football, he had a very serious demeanor. You could tell that clock was ticking about, did I get it all?
Right.
He wanted everything.
He did. Now, that's not to be confused with a sense of humor, because he had a real good sense of humor, and he was a real intelligent guy. But you're right. He was so well prepared that he wanted to get it. He wanted to check every one of those boxes before he went on the air. And, one of the funniest things, look, we were in the pre-cell phone, again, another old reference for me and you, but pre-cell phone where you had to have a Rolodex to get phone numbers for everybody. You didn't have it just in your contact list where you just said, Ed knew phone numbers. If I gave him your phone number back in the 80s, he would know that phone number. And to get scores, highlight scores, on pressure deadline on Friday night, he would go, all right, here's this number, 225-321-1013. And he had to say it like in threes and in a four. He had to do the whole thing out. Like, the way I didn't get that. I'm dyslexic a little bit. Say it again, and he'd go, hey, But then I go, who am I calling? He said, that's a bar in Hammond that a lot of the coaches go to after the game. They'll be there. They'll have the phone number. So, but he would know. They had a big brain, man, and he could really process a lot of information.
I remember one of the first times Ed Daniels called me personally for something. I was very young, early 20s. And they said, Ed Daniels is on the phone with, and I'm going, the New Orleans guy's on the phone for a Houma guy? And that was big back then, but that was Ed Daniels. Yeah. He needed some footage or something. And we had it, and we sent it to him.
And he knew it, right? And he like I say, the guy was prepared, he was smart, and passionate about it. And local was the way to go. And he knew you, he knew this market, he knew Eric Ritchie, he knew, everybody from around here. And he knew the same thing, he knew, was a little Hunter in Morgan City. He knew the same kind of people that were in the North Shore.
He networked.
He networked, and he remembered, and like I say, he really processed a lot of information.
You saw him with Mike Detillier on a couple of B-roll. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about what does this mean for the sports industry when you lose legends like this? What do we have coming up? Let's talk about that. Let's be frank about it. We'll be right back.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
All right, we're back talking with Harry McCulla. I'm Martin Folse, and we are remembering Ed Daniels, longtime sportscaster, who really was the godfather. Let's call him the godfather of sports in this era. They had the Hap Glaudes and the Buddy Delaburros, but they were going. Ed was, I guess he was the senior guy at this point.
Yeah.
Anybody older than him at this time?
Well, Jim Henderson, who were retired.
Yeah, retired.
But
Active.
Jim would have been in that same kind of realm. Mike Haas is there, but those guys have kind of moved on. The game's a young man's game, right? Because
still got the Tillier.
you got to be,
Still got the Tillier.
you got to be working when everybody else is at home.
Let me ask you this. What does this do? Because what scares me about this industry, you mentioned some of the changes. They want instant. But sometimes you can't be instant to get the real, true story. Ed liked to, do his stuff, get his sources, 2 or 3 sources, check your sources. We see so much released on Facebook and YouTube that is not even close to being it. I'm sure that drove him crazy. But secondly, what does it do for the ones coming up that have to take the places? I see sports has changed already.
Oh yeah, no, look, it's changed, and they were telling us that. They were like, look, sports probably won't even have the 4 minutes you have now. We'll probably do weather 3 times, and we'll have you on for 30 seconds to go to the website. They were already talking about that, and we're like, you got to be kidding me. We got 90,000 people that show up at the Superdome, 102,321 that show up at LSU. You telling me nobody cares about sports?
I can tell you the names of the weather people in New Orleans, but I can't tell you all the sports people.
Right.
Because you're right.
That's exactly what happened. And like I said, I think journalism, when you talk about those names, Hap, Buddy, D, those were legends, right? Those are guys that were sports writers, became TV guys. They were really kind of gamblers too. But anyway,
personality.
But then Buddy learned. I mean, Ed learned from them, and Jim Henderson, and a new phase came in, and it was really a good time to be in sports there. But now it's cell phones. It's like a lot of athletes just do their own thing too, right? Where you can go straight to people. It's a lot more. In a way, it's a lot more open, and in a lot of ways, it's a lot more closed, where they only let you see what they want you to see. So there's a lot of difference that goes on, and they also know, why am I spending my time with a local dude when I can just call Diana Rossini and do it on ESPN or The Athletic or something?
But I think everyone would agree his work ethic, and that's what I always preach to people. What's your work ethic? His work ethic, I don't know anybody that had a bigger work ethic.
Right. And no, I agree. And look, he took it seriously, and he did an internship with Buddy Delaburro at WDSU. Then he went to Lake Charles, and he came back from Lake Charles and started on, and then actually got laid off at Channel 6 during those times we were talking about. That's how he ended up at 26, where then he started his own program, and that's when they did Friday Night Sports and those kind of things. Then the ABC affiliate changed. I know it's in the weeds a little bit, but Fox 8, and they were WVSU was ABC. It switched over. Yeah. So that's how it became a network, where we started doing shows on 5, 6, and 10. So yeah. I don't know where it goes. I look at the journalism schools, and I don't see people that want to be journalists. They want to be influencers, or kind of make themselves almost a star, right? More so.
They want to be like Sean Hannity and people.
They want to draw attention to themselves more so than the sports they cover. And so that's a change. I don't mean to be the old man throwing rocks here at clouds, but it does to me, and unfortunately, that's who gets the attention a lot of times. Yeah. If you get somebody that has attention, that draws numbers, and then that's important in the eyes of the advertisers.
Ed was a throwback. You get attention because you're delivering the story, but the story was never about Ed.
Right. It was about covering the sport, right? And then we all went to journalism school, Martin, and that was the who, what, when, where, and how.
Right.
and then you lead that way and you build it in a pyramid. Now it's like, hey, this is me up in front of Tiger Stadium. This is what happened, and this made me look good, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, to us it was like covering the game. If you didn't get on the air, you didn't get on. You were covering the game to bring. It used to be, when John Ferguson was doing radio of Tiger Stadium, you didn't even see highlights, so you had to see, Andy Hamilton and Burt Jones. That was your only chance to see him.
Yeah, just real quick. When me and you went to Vanderbilt, so when we covered things, we covered Vanderbilt, but we learned how to cover. Eddie White was as important as Vanderbilt.
It was.
Ed was a Rommel Raider.
Right. But the Catholic League
covered Jesuit.
The Catholic League he was going to cover everybody just as important, and that's why a lot of people thought Ed was negative, because he covered his team as hard as he covered that one, maybe even more so.
Yeah,
right. If Rummel wasn't doing good, he was going to get on him. If Mike Ditka wasn't doing it, he wasn't just going to go, oh yeah, just give him time. The character guys will show up. Like, no, we got 2 Billy Joes at quarterback. We can't play like this. So he was honest and even harder on his own teams. You can never call him a homer.
Yeah, just real quick with about a minute left. I'm sure you were shocked when you saw this.
Dude, I couldn't believe it. And like I say, like, you and I are now, getting to that age, right? I mean, men of a certain age, and it's going to happen, but it used to happen to our parents, not our friends and coworkers and guys our age. It's going to happen more. But yeah, it was a shock. And, when his wife said he never regained consciousness, and the way they were treating it in California, I was really worried.
The thing that impressed me, every channel you turned on had something about
everybody did, right?
And they're all competitors, but they had this respect for each other.
Yeah.
They certainly respected it.
Look, we all hung out in the Saints locker room, in the media room. So most of your time is waiting around to do things.
Yeah.
You make big relationships with everybody. Jim Henderson and I used to have a beer, after show before we drove. Well, I shouldn't say that. Just one. But we were all friends, right? And we were all. It was a close little community, a little fraternity we all had.
All right, well, Harry, thank you for joining us, and appreciate it. I knew you would know a lot about Ed.
Yeah, his thing is Thursday. All his ceremonies be Thursday.
There you have it. Harry McCulla, Martin Folse, thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next go-round.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.